Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. I tell you what, I literally was just about to go live. It's always worth checking. There's just been a drop from Florian Pletterberg at Plettigol on Sky talking about Mainoo departure this summer. So we'll give you that because there's another account saying that he's close to a new contract. What's going on? It's the March international break. I told you these sort of stories are going to start coming out because this is when people are talking and clubs and players and agents are talking. So lots to get into this morning, quite literally. We'll talk about that Mainoo story because it is quite significant. But we've got our own story that's quite significant. We don't get a lot anymore, and certainly I'm not going to be able to give you names of replacements, but this is from a very good source close to the club that Ruben Amorim would like to replace Andre Onana this summer. Now, that is quite a significant update. What we've been told is that Onana is well liked at the football club and there is no issue there in relation to application or personality or anything like that. But what we've been told is that Ruben Amorim, like Pep Guardiola, like Jurgen Klopp, like Arne Slot, like Mikel Arteta, understands the importance of the goalkeeper in the modern playing system. And Onana is seen as Ten Hag's goalkeeper. It's not the goalkeeper that Ruben Amorim ideally wants at Manchester United. There is a belief that he doesn't instill the confidence in the team and certainly in the defence that is needed at the top level, and that he would want a replacement as soon as possible to come in and be his goalkeeper. Now, the question's going to be on that, because it's quite a significant update, is will Manchester United allow that to happen? We need centre-backs, we need strikers, we need wingers, we need midfielders, we need number 10s. If we need a goalkeeper as well, how are we going to do that when Andre Onana is only 2 years into his contract, and from FFP purposes, you're probably going to need to sell him for £35 million. So wanting and getting, I think we go back to the conversation we had before about how you do that and whether a manager is going to have to operate with one arm tied behind his back like every other manager we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson. Because when Pep Guardiola wanted a goalkeeper, he was given 3 before he settled on Ederson. So, look, it is significant. I don't think it necessarily means it's the end of Onana, but it is obviously an area, quite logically as well, I suppose, when you think about it, that Amorim would like to change. And as I said, it's not coming out that he's disliked or he's a problem or anything like that. It's more about personal preference, and it's not really a surprise, is it? What we could do, look, I've always said, personally, I think we'll go for a goalkeeper that is up and coming. I know Suzuki's been mentioned at Parma. I think ideally they'd like Costa from Porto. I think they'd like Verbruggen, someone like that from Brighton. But it's what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But I haven't massively got any issues with that. I think we've had 2 years of Onana, and I think we can have another 2 years of Onana and we'll probably get the same. Some good saves, some good passes, some silly mistakes, some weird, movements, and ultimately a goalkeeper that doesn't instill confidence in his team, manager, or the fan base. And the sooner we make that change, the better. But financially, I think we're going to struggle. Now, I want to come back to that because obviously that's a very, very, very significant update. But in fairness, what can be read is that Plettigol, the Sky Germany journalist, who has been reasonably good around Man United for the last 18 months, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to say David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano, but he has been reasonably good. This is the update he has just dropped in the last 5 minutes. Manchester United are confident that they will be able to invest in top transfers this summer, especially as the budget will be freed up through the possible and planned departures of Lindelof, Casemiro, Eriksen and Mainoo. The sales of Rashford and Antony would provide the club with even greater financial flexibility. Sell to buy, but the way that Mainoo gets dropped in there, I find fascinating. Absolutely fascinating, because that's the most significant name. I mean, look, I'm able to digest this stuff very quickly, as I'm sure you are. You're intelligent people. We're Manchester United fans. We're passionate. We educate ourselves and we have opinions. When I read that, your brain's looking ahead and I'm like, what's he talking about? What is he talking about? Man United are confident they can invest in big transfers because they're going to get rid of Lindelof, Casemiro and Eriksen. Well, no. Lindelof is going to earn us nothing Eriksen is going to earn us nothing. Yeah, okay, they're on what's 150 grand, 600 grand a month. 150 grand a week is 600 grand a month times 10. All right, you're going to raise about 12 million in wages, but that's not going to buy you top players. 12 million is not going to buy you loads of players, is it? You've still got to pay their wages, and that'll barely pay you year one on a 50 million deal. So Eriksen and Lindelof aren't going to earn us any money. Casemiro, I mean, yeah, it's a significant wage, but as I said last night, I don't think he's a guaranteed player to go. So when you read that update, Man United are confident that they can make signings in the summer because they're going to free up loads of money. Well, Lindelof, Casemiro and Eriksen don't free up lots of money. Oh, and Mainoo's there. Well, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one. Mainoo probably will raise you 60, 70 million of pure profit. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's going to happen, but it's a pretty significant update because I don't see Casemiro, Eriksen and Lindelof as the players that free up the cash for us to buy top players. But Mainoo does. Now, do we want that to happen? Would you sell Mainoo? Now, I'm just going to run a poll here. I don't know the answer to this. Would you sell Mainoo to get a top striker? Yes or no? That's a question. That's not would you sell Mainoo. That is ultimately, what we're asking here. Now, the funny thing is about the Mainoo story, and I feel I need to go back to the Onana one because I know that one is true. But I also saw last night, and I'll shout it out, MUFC MPB. Some people will know it on social media. They basically posted last night, exclusive, Man United have made positive progress in talks with Mainoo over a new contract. Now, they're the source, a Twitter account, a Twitter aggregator account of the source. Now, people will ridicule that. I could ridicule that. But what I will say, in the modern world, you'd be surprised who talks to you. Could be a player's agent, could be someone from the club. I genuinely think that you'd be surprised who talks to people to give people information. You would be very surprised. The flip side of that coin is, if you're asking me what I think is going to happen with Mainoo, and I had to guess, I would say, and also listen to look at the update. Man United have made positive progress in talks with Mainoo over a new contract. What does that actually mean? It means they've had positive talks. It doesn't mean tomorrow talks break down and he's signing for Inter Milan. So, it's to me, it's like, I think Mainoo signs a new deal, but that's a complete guess. I think Mainoo will sign a new deal. That's what I think. But I realistically am a little bit concerned about that Pletty goal update because when I read it back, it doesn't read. Well, it reads the possible and planned departures of Lindelof, Eriksen, Casemiro, and Mainoo. And I just think, why is Mainoo's name there? And maybe it's there because it's possible. Maybe it's there because it's planned. Maybe it's there because there's contract issues. I don't know. Maybe it's very insignificant. But I think when you're a journalist who wants a reputation, you don't just tweet about, oh, you know what, Mainoo might go or Rasmus might go. There must be something to that. But I think he'll sign a new contract because my theory is this. I think this football club runs on spin and PR. And I think that what we're getting from Mainoo's side is that they're very confused as to why all these talks and leaks keep coming out about his wages and leaving Man United when there's not really any prospect of that happening at the moment. So Mainoo's side are quite confused. All these leaks are obviously coming from the club. And I just think, is it going to be the whole, it's like a new signing when we get him on a new contract? Oh, look, we've got Mainoo. I think that. Worst case scenario, where does he fit in the team? Where does he fit in the team? Is this summer the time to sell him? Because if he's not going to be in the team, his value is going to drop. So you might be able to get 60, 70 million pounds for him in the summer. if he's not going to be a first-team player next year, his value might drop. I mean, where does he fit into the team? Like for me, I know where I would put him, but where do you think Amorim puts Mainoo in that team? I don't think he's a holding midfielder. I think he can do a job, but I don't think he's a holding midfielder. I think his best position is where Bruno is, but you're not going to get Bruno out of the team. And I don't actually think he's a number 10. I don't think he's a number 10. I don't think he's mobile enough for that. So I think that worst case scenario, Mainoo under Amorim could find himself as a bit of a utility player. He can do the Bruno role, he can do a number 10 role, but does he actually start ahead of people like Ahmad, Garnacho, Bruno, Ugarte, and whoever else we bring in? And that becomes problematic. But then on the other hand, my personal opinion is, he's 19. In 2 years' time, he could be the best player in the team. To cash in on Mainoo to help fund stadiums and transfer windows is shocking. Like, he's 19, and even if he doesn't walk into the team at the moment, I still think he'd play a lot of minutes, and I think he will walk into the team at some point in the next 18 months anyway. So that's the way I look at it. I just think it's incredible that we'd even think about doing it. But look, this will play out how it plays out, but that's a significant update. I think he'll sign a new contract. I think the club are playing games here so that you think he's going and then they go, oh, he's got a new contract on Ineos. Good. And look, maybe some of you've worked in marketing, maybe some of you haven't. But if I'm Sir Jim Radcliffe and I'm delivering, more shit than a sewer, I would be thinking, how do we create a story that's not a story? Let's get stories out there that we might sell Mainoo, and then when we give him a new contract, it'll be like, yeah, look at them, they didn't do it. So you can always create a story out of nothing, and I think they are creating a story out of nothing. But as MMA Takedown says, that Plettigol tweet reads like an Ineos release, and let me just read it back to you. Man United, this is broken in the last few minutes. Man United are confident they will be able to invest in transfers this summer, especially as the budget will be freed up through the possible and planned departures of Lindelof, Casemiro, Eriksen and Mainoo. The sales of Rashford and Antony would provide the club with even greater financial flexibility as well. So there you go. I suppose, look, as well, I want to go back to the Onana story because that's the big one, but I feel that what you've got going on here as well is, like, I think it's very dangerous too. So even if you raised, I don't know, 50 million quid from Lindelof, Rashford, Casemiro, Eriksen, what makes you think people are spending that 50 million quid? Oh, we've raised 50, 60 million from Rashford and Casemiro and everyone like that. Let's spend it on 5 players. Oh, hold on a minute. We already know we've got to spend 90 million on transfers from last year. We already know there's a load of debt interest. So, be very wary of going, oh, Man United can raise money and buy Osimhen and Gyökeres. We can't. It's the hypocrisy, isn't it? It's the lack of accountability. It's the spin that annoys me. Oh, if we sell Rashford, we've got 40 million pure profit and we can buy 3 players and pay 10 million each, but we'll do it for the next 5 years and there'll be 50 million pounds each. So Rashford for 40 million actually means we can spend 150 million. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. We owe over 300 million pounds on transfers. We are 700 million pounds in debt and we will have to pay tens of millions of pounds on debt interest. So I don't like these sort of articles where it's like, oh, we can raise 40 million and we'll be able to spend it. No, we bloody won't. We've already been told that. Barada's said it. So, yeah. Patrick Lynch is here. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting one. He says there are a few contradictions with Mainoo. Does Amorim see him as a first-team player? Who do we sell to? A rival. Why are we selling? Is it football-led or financial? I need more details. Yes, I think Mainoo would be sold for financial reasons, Patrick. I don't see any other way why you would sell. Honestly, very good point. My opinion is if we did sell Mainoo or Garnacho, it would be for financial reasons because nobody can tell me that at 20 and 19, Amorim can predict whether they're going to be top players or not at 23. Would you sell Mainoo to get a top striker? 43% of you would, 57% of you wouldn't. Hi Mark, greetings from Chile. I think we have to make peace with the idea that either Garnacho or Mainoo will go, and that's very sad. That's from Ulysses United. And Ashley Morrissey says, new club merchandise released, more spin. Yeah, I mean, who in their right mind is buying Manchester United club merchandise at the moment? I mean, there's got to be something in your head that clicks in and goes, I'm a bloody mercenary. I just don't. I don't know what would motivate you to want to do it at the moment. I really don't. But look, each to your own. Do you think Glinios will sell Garnacho and Mainoo, says Sam? I don't think both of them will go, no. Mainoo's had a lot of injuries at a very young age, says Cameron. There we go. Does that mean you would sell him, Cameron? Don't know. Any update on Heaven, Mark? Well, I want to talk about a few other things, but I will give you an update on Heaven. He had a scan yesterday, and they are awaiting the results of that scan, which I suspect they may well have already. But yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. I'm hoping it's a few weeks and not a few months. Just looking at social media reaction to that Pletty goal tweet as well, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually if he modifies that at some point, because he's getting a lot of pelters about the Mainoo one, because it's sort of like throwing Mainoo in there after Eriksen, Casemiro and Lindelof. That's actually a massive, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Yeah, definitely. There are a few updates coming in as well around the... Dougie Friedman has gone to Saudi League. That's been confirmed by Romano overnight, which I think we knew. There's a few updates coming in around a new centre-back target as well, which I want to talk about in a moment. But there was, what was I going to say? I've completely forgotten what I was going to say there now. Yeah, I want to go back to our lead story, because what I do know is that I know the source of this, whereas I don't know what Pletty goal has been said. So yeah, going back to our lead story, Amorim wants Onana replacement. We've had this from a very good source. I think the key takeaways with this are how do you do it? What would you get? And will they do it? Amorim wants Onana replacement. I think for the reasons that were given. It makes sense to me. I mean, I can't argue with any of these points. Amorim wants to build a team in his identity, and goalkeeper is seen to be a key position for him, as it was for Pep Guardiola, Mikel Arteta. Remember, Pep had a few goalkeepers before he did it, before he landed on Ederson. Look at what Arteta did with Ramsdale. There was uproar because, Ramsdale's got a British passport. Raya's not as good. But Raya was completely different to Ramsdale, and it has been transformative to Arsenal. So yeah, look, the story is that, and this is well sourced, the story is that Amorim wants to build a team in his identity and sees the goalkeeper as a key position in the modern game. Andre Onana is well liked in the squad and by the management, but ultimately is seen as a Ten Hag signing and not a goalkeeper that Amorim traditionally would want. There are also concerns around the confidence that Onana brings to the team. While he's well liked, there has been incidents this season and last where ultimately it hasn't filled the team with confidence. And that's not necessarily errors. Everybody knows goalkeepers make errors. That's more to do with commanding your penalty box, playing out from the back, organisation, communication. The confidence thing just isn't where it should be, comparable to where, other goalkeepers from the past. But what I was also told is, whilst all those things are relevant, and I don't think it's shocking news that Amorim would want to replace Onana. I mean, Amorim would probably want to replace a couple of other players if we're being completely harsh, and we had that news. The question is, will the club allow him to do it? And where will the funds come from to do it? My personal feeling is that Onana will still be the goalkeeper of Manchester United next season. I think if Amorim could change it in the summer, he would do. But as we know, money is an object, and it's a very big object for Manchester United to jump. I don't know how you do this, but I think what it does do is that if next season Onana is our goalkeeper and he doesn't improve massively, then there will be times next season where we're going, oh. And I'm not going to give you any examples because you can imagine them yourselves. There will be times next season if Onana is in goal where we're going, oh, Now, is that fair on a manager who's made it clear to the board, I want my own goalkeeper? And this is the problem that Mourinho had, that Ollie had, that Ten Hag had, is that you get some backing, but you don't get all the backing you actually need. And I think if we're looking to move up the table next year or perform better next year, then you've got to fill key positions. And people talk about strikers and midfielders and number 10s, but I actually think the goalkeeper in the modern game is really important. Look at Liverpool with Kelleher in goal at the weekend. He's not a bad goalkeeper, but he ain't Alisson. Man City have struggled this season with Ederson dropping off a little bit. I think Arsenal are a very good team because Raya's a much better goalkeeper than Ramsdale. So I think that if Onana has to be our goalkeeper next season, which I think he will be, that is still a weakness in an Amorim system, and it could cost us. But I don't know where the money comes from for us to be able to do this deal. So I think I think my interpretation of this news is, I think Amorim would want to replace Onana based on what we've been told, and I think everything there makes sense. But there's probably other positions he'd like to do things with as well. And the cold, harsh fact is we don't have access to funds to do what needs to be done as quickly as it needs to be done. And that's why they keep talking about 5-year plans and projects, because how many more years, for example, will Onana have to be our goalkeeper until Amorim can replace him? I don't think it's going to be this summer. Would it even be next summer? Maybe we've got to put up with this for 2 more years. But I just don't see where we get the money to bring in the goalkeeper that he would want. And also, there's a large part of me that thinks the best solution would be to spend 15, 20 million on a younger goalkeeper that can come in and dislodge Onana, rather than trying to go and get a Costa or someone like that. Hi, Mark. I saw a story about Lucas Chevalier, the goalkeeper from Lille, as a possible replacement, says Raygard. There are some good goalkeepers out there, and maybe a goalkeeper like that would make sense. I think, as I said, if you could bring a goalkeeper in for about 15, 20 million, where they're not necessarily the first choice goalkeeper straight away, but they instantly come in and, challenge Onana, then I think that might be the way to go. But what we're not, I genuinely do not think under this ownership, we're going to see a scenario where we sell Onana for 35 million to break even on FFP and then replace him for someone like Costa for 50 million. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the only solution here, and there clearly needs to be a solution long term and as quick as we can, I think the solution is to bring in a potential goalkeeper to dislodge him over next season. Matthew says, might be a bit premature, but do you think Amorim will have the time to build a team? This year is a write-off and he's got a short contract. Yeah, well, I think that's a great point, Matthew, because I think the contract issue is that his contract is up in not next summer, the summer after, which means that, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I am right. So his contract is up in 2 years, basically. So effectively, it's up in 12 months because next summer they'll have to extend his contract because no manager goes into his final year. So he's basically got this summer and next summer. Well, basically, he's probably got this summer. I mean, it's scary, actually, when you think about it. I remember saying this when we gave him his contract. So his contract is up in 2 years in June. But the stupid thing is, this is his only summer transfer window because next summer, you're not going to spend £300 million on him if you're not going to renew his contract. So he's almost got to get a contract renewal before next summer, in the next 12 months, because no manager goes into their final year. And yet, this summer, they're talking about not having a lot of money. It's weird. It's weird. It is weird because his contract's short, but the project is long. Doesn't necessarily make sense. Few people talking about Suzuki at Parma. We did look at Suzuki, a Japanese goalkeeper, who we looked at him before he signed for Parma. I forget where he was before that. I have a feeling he was in Belgium. But yeah, it's... he was quoted as £40 million to Chelsea a couple of months ago. So again, I don't think we'll go for that really. Might be a bit, but done that one. Mark, sorry about that, Raygard. Yeah, thank you very much to Matthew. That was a very good comment there. Are you concerned about a thin squad next season, says Red Devil Girl? Well, it won't matter that much if we're not in Europe. Remember, we're walking on the thinnest ice of all. If we're not in Europe, that's going to be... it's scary, actually. If we're not in Europe, that's probably maybe 12 games less in a season, which is quite considerable. It's a large percentage. So maybe... Look, there's no way that Sir Jim Radcliffe or the Glazers are saying, let's cut the squad because we won't be in Europe, because actually financially that won't work. We'll earn more money from being in Europe. But what worries me, Red Devil Girl, is more the fact that we don't have any money and we have a lot of injury-prone players. I don't think the numbers of our squad is that bad. It's just that keeping them fit seems to be a problem. What about signing João Pedro from Brighton, says Timothy? I think as soon as anybody says, what about such and such from Brighton, I think, okay, where's the 60, 70, 80 million pounds coming from? That would be the problem for me. Two big stories this morning, though. Very interesting stuff. Give us your comments. Would you sell Mainoo to get a top striker? 57% of you say yes. I want to end that poll. No, they said no, sorry. I want to talk about this goalkeeper news. How do I word this one? Let's just keep it simple. Would you sell Onana? Yes or no? Because I don't actually know. I mean, look, it's news, but I don't actually know what people think. Do you think Binder could replace Onana soon? Look, I didn't get that as part of the brief, but this is just completely my opinion. I actually think if Binder hadn't had the injury he's had over the last 2 months, there's a big chance he might have dislodged Onana. Based on that, what we've been told and what we've been talking about this morning, I think there's a big chance he would have dislodged Onana. He certainly would have been playing in the Europa League. I don't think Onana would have been the goalkeeper for the Fulham. Well, I don't know about the Europa League, actually. Maybe that's a little bit unfair, but he would have been in goal against Fulham for the penalty shootout. And I think before the injury, Binder was pushing him. He really was, but that injury is just typical of United, isn't it? So yeah, I think it's very clear that Amorim doesn't have confidence in Onana as the long-term goalkeeper for Manchester United, and you've got to have that. It's a very important position, and you've got to have that. And it's not his guy either. And this happens a lot. It's not his guy. And remember, Onana was a very distinctive obsession from Ten Hag. He had one of the best goalkeepers in Europe who just won the Golden Glove and let him walk out the door for nothing to spend £50 million on a replacement that wasn't as good. And I like Ten Hag, but I said at the time, I'll never understand what that was all about. I thought it was massively disrespectful. I nearly swore. And let's not forget, David De Gea went on holiday being told there was a new contract. They waited for him to go on holiday and then told him he wasn't getting a new one. They treated him like absolute shit, De Gea. But people got lost in the whole shiny new toy thing. And he'd been told he was getting a new contract. He had to come back and clear his locker after his holiday because whilst on holiday, they said, no, we're not doing that. And that was on Murta, that was on the Glazers, and it was on Ten Hag. That's what I mean. Nobody's perfect. I didn't want Ten Hag to get sacked, and I did back him, but everybody makes mistake, and I think that was a weird obsession. But to flip it positively, that's because Ten Hag was obsessed about Onana specifically because he felt that was his guy. And maybe De Gea intimidated Ten Hag. Maybe De Gea was too powerful in the dressing room to Ten Hag because De Gea had won a Premier League with Sir Alex Ferguson. Maybe he wanted his own guy. But to continue that story, why would Amorim come into Man United and see Onana in goal and who hasn't had an amazing season and go, yeah, he's my guy. And look, we saw it with Maguire a few weeks ago. I see it every week. There's not a lot of confidence with that defence, with that goalkeeper. There's a lot of frustration, and it bubbles over sometimes. That they're not confident with that goalkeeper. And even if you think they are, even if they get on well, there's not a great chemistry there. And the goalkeeper is so important. You know, I watch Arsenal, and I think Raya I know he makes mistakes every now and again, but I think he does instill confidence into his defence, and they are really, really well organised. The same with Alisson. So I think when you're looking at people like, when we're looking at where we are in the league, and it's horrific, and when you're looking at the season we're in, like it's harder to find. The point I'm trying to make is that with Man United, there are so many areas that are going to move us up the league and improve us as a team, because we're so far behind. So, you know, experienced striker is going to make us better. A goalkeeper that Amorim wants is going to make us better. Like, there are so many improvements that are going to move us up that Premier League table from where we are at the moment. But it's just whether we've got the money to do it. I love Mainoo's ability, but he lacks pace to play as a 6, 8 or 10. I'd sell him for the benefit of the team to bring in a Kuna or an Mbumo, and I'd love a striker as well, says Anders. Look, I'm not going to fall out. It's the international break, and there's going to be lots of conversations that people aren't going to agree with. I can deal with that. But what I will say is what I said about Garnacho in January. To me, it's absolutely appalling to be selling a 19-year-old who isn't going to be at his full potential for another 2 or 3 years for money to bring in a player that, you know, might be slightly better, but realistically, what are Man United all about? And I just don't like this whole mercenary way of basically selling off young players because it's better for us. So yeah, I'm dead against it, and I'd be really pissed off. But look, I've got a video going out on That's Football at 11 o'clock about the Man City case, because there's some rumours going on about that. But the bottom line is no one knows which way that's going really at the moment, and nobody really knows which way it's going to go with Mainoo. But I think he will sign a new contract. What I will admit is, where's Mainoo's place in this team long term? He probably suited a 4-3. If I'm being honest, I think Mainoo suited a 4-3-3 more than he suits a 3-4-3, because the number 10s in this team need to be quick, and the pivot, there's only 2 spots there instead of 3 in the old system. Vicky says, I don't think he suits the team. I think that's a very relevant conversation. I do, but he is only 19 as well. Why would you sell Mainoo or Garnacho when we might be playing 4-3-3 in 12 months, says Michael? Well, yeah. I mean, look, let's be completely honest. Whatever you think about Marcus Rashford, he doesn't suit this system. You know, even if Marcus Rashford was brilliant, prime Marcus Rashford doesn't even suit Amorim's system. You'd find a way for him if he was playing well, but he doesn't suit this system. He doesn't suit the 2 positions behind the striker. He doesn't suit the striker, and he doesn't suit the wide positions. So this formation really is a killer of Marcus Rashford, because he is a wide forward. He likes to play wide left, not track back, and cut inside and shoot. And we don't have that position in this team. It just doesn't work. So there are players that don't suit this formation. That's the whole point of what the whole brief was about Amorim in November when he came to the club, and all the Portuguese journalists and fans that were getting in contact with us, and they were saying, look, it's an amazing system, but it only suits a certain percentage of world football. There are players out there that are fantastic that just won't suit this system, whereas a Pep Guardiola system, who's not going to suit that really? Like, you know, he might. It basically, but this system, there are players that just won't work in it, and that's something we do have to have our eyes open to, because that might happen with players. What are your thoughts on Galler on loan or signing him, says Squid? Yeah, never going to get a player like that out of Real Madrid. Mohammed says, is the stadium going to get knocked down next season or the year after? I don't think the stadium gets knocked down until the new one's built, mate. So 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, however many years it takes to build the new stadium, we'll play in Old Trafford until the day that opens, and then it's going to take about 2 years to knock Old Trafford down. So yeah, it's going to be a building site for a decade. But yeah, we'll be playing in Old Trafford for at least another 5 seasons, starting from next season, not including this one. Thank you very much for that, Mohammed. Always nice to answer questions. Matthew says, if we sell Garnacho or Mainoo, do you think we lose a part of the United identity? Where do we go with our academy at that point? I think what happens, Matthew, is that we just become what a lot of clubs like Chelsea have become. You know, Conor Gallagher goes because it's pure profit. So I think that's most likely to be the case, whereby it's just money that the club brings in and utilises. But you've got to be very careful with that, because I think there are things that we hold dear at Manchester United, and I don't think the Glazers or Ineos or Sir Jim Radcliffe, as I should say, hold those things dear, really. You look at the plans of that new stadium that came out a week ago, and that's not a football ground. That's an events arena. That's going to be, we don't care who you are, just come to this place and spend your money. Ask Liverpool to do it. Old Trafford would be down in hours, says Super Donut. And thank you very much to Matthew. I love Mainoo's. I've done that from Anders as well. Right, I've got a couple of other bits I wanted to just cover this morning as well. Just a little bit of transfer news, because we mentioned this last week. This Mainoo story has sort of captured a few people's imagination this morning. My opinion is he'll sign a new contract, and that we're all being spun in by Sir Jim Radcliffe into thinking that Mainoo's going to go, and then when he signs a new contract, it's an open goal of, oh, look what we do, it's like a new signing. I don't see Mainoo going, but I do think that the Pletty goal update is a bit weird. Why put Mainoo in there? If I was Pletty goal this morning, and I was told that Man United have got money to sign players in the summer based on sales, I would write, Man United are confident that they can make signings in the summer based on players that will be leaving this summer. Players such as Casemiro, Lindelof, Eriksen are all expected to leave, freeing up significant wage funds, and Antony and Rashford are both expected to leave, raising, maybe 40 to 50 million pounds. I wouldn't include Mainoo in it, because why? It's controversial, and it would be huge news. I don't think Mainoo's going anywhere. I really, really don't. Just a couple of sort of peripheral reports. Caught Offside have had a couple of updates come in the last few hours. Manchester United are considering a move for De Winter, who is valued at 30 to 35 million euros. He's attracted the attention of Manchester United. We spoke about him last week, actually. I think he's 22, right-footed centre-back at Genoa. A couple of other Premier League clubs have looked at him. I mean, look, maybe he's a name just to repeat there. I'm not saying the source is amazing, but we spoke about this last week. I can't remember where the source from that was, but it's the second time we've been linked to him now. And I definitely think we need to bring in a right-sided centre-back anyway. It's a bit like wingers, really. Wingers and number 10s. Centre-backs are very, very important in an Amorim system. So I would keep that name. Alexandru says caught offside are full of crap. Well, that well may be, mate. I said that, but what I'm saying is it's the second time in a week we've been linked to that name, so it's certainly one to maybe keep in mind. I thought Romano writes for caught offside. I mean, I don't know. Morning, Mark. Hope you're well. Sorry I can't get to Dublin, says Ray Carl, but hope you and the family are well, and what a great community you've made. Oh, what a lovely message, Ray. Thank you very much for that. Love that. Yeah, tomorrow night in Dublin. Looking forward to that. Terry's going to cover the 8 o'clock show, so we'll still have an 8 o'clock show for you, so don't worry about that. But get yourself on socials, Instagram, at Goldbridge Mark and United Stand and all that lot. We'll be putting some stuff up, hopefully get some clips and stuff up. Looking forward to that. And if you fancy trying to get a late ticket, links in the video description, I think. Aki says, is Casemiro's contract ending this season? We must get 30 million for him with the recent performances. What are you talking about? He's on 350 grand a week and you think we're getting 30 million. Who's going to give us that then? Swansea? Bloody hell. That's incredible. No, we've still got morning show at 10 o'clock. We've still got 8 o'clock shows, 2 o'clock shows. I'll still be doing content. They have got, Dublin has got internet. Don't worry about that. And I've got plenty of time, so we will still be putting content up. But the show is at 8 o'clock, so I can't do the 8 o'clock show tomorrow night. But Terry does a great job. He'll step in. Beth can't do it because she's with Ricky. Not doing anything. They're not on holiday. She's going to be on stage as well with Ricky. Round 2 of the Bruno debates. That's gonna. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna get the popcorn and push somebody out of a seat on front row and watch that myself in Dublin tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to that. I was actually trying to get the Aviva, get a boxing ring. Beth in one corner, Ricky in the other, and I'd be the celebrity referee. I think we'd sell it out, 80,000. Could have took it to Saudi, yeah. But no, they're going to be on a stage tomorrow as well. So it'd be good if we can record it actually, because we'll give them a couple of drinks before they go on. Thank you. So yeah, I mean this winter guy. Let's keep an eye on that. There was something else as well. Linked to Tyler Dibbling again. I'm just going through some stuff. I mean, look, we're going to get a load of shit. Tyler Dibbling, Southampton, 40 million. Link us to that. What's the Sunderland guy's name? Not Bellingham, the other one. Yeah, we'll be linked to him again soon. Liam Delap. Yeah, we're going to get linked to all these people. But the point is, what's the budget, and how many players do you think we're going to sign for over 40 million quid? Chris Rigg, that's it, yeah. I don't think we're going to buy players over 40 million quid. I don't think we've got the money to do that. I think we're going to buy cheap and we need to buy volume. So I think it will be quantity over value, over price. Do you think Shaw will be used as a left-sided centre-back next season, considering Evans and Lindelof will leave and they might keep Malacia for left wing-back with Dorgu? Madaf, the only thing I would say is he's got to stay fit. And that's not going to be easy. So using Luke Shaw for anything other than a doorstop at the moment is irrelevant, because he's got to stay fit. And I know he's meant to be back fit soon, but Luke Shaw has basically been injured for 18 months. Every time he's come back, he's not lasted a month. So, yeah. Leon is coming, says Edwina. Yeah, I don't want to be offensive, proceeds to be offensive, but I can't be arsed with this Leon talk. Nobody knows anything about him, and he's a teenager, but apparently, he's going straight into a Man United side. He might go on loan. He might go into the youth setup for 12 months. Like, people are talking like he's coming straight into the Man United side. Like, new country, new league, teenager. It could be 18 months before he's ready. I mean, it'd be great if he does go straight into the team, but the percentage chance of that is very, very low. Very, very low. Slays says, what's your thoughts about FFP, PSR forcing clubs to sell their local academy players because they're pure profit? Are clubs losing their local heart and soul? Yes. Yes, this goes beyond Manchester United. This is very, very sad, certainly. But maybe Man United are about to jump on that train. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you've enjoyed the show. 90% of you would sell Onana, by the way. I mean, that is shocking how many people would actually do that. I don't think he's that bad. And as I said, the feedback is that he's not disliked, and it's not that he's a bad goalkeeper. It's just that he's not the goalkeeper that Amorim wants to build with. So we need to replace him, obviously, but whether the club are going to allow Amorim to do that or not, we'll have to wait and see. But that's quite a landslide, of course. Beth's back at 2. I'm back at 8. Loved the 8 o'clock show last night, so looking forward to that tonight as well. And yeah, have a great day. I've got a video going up on That's Football in a minute about this Man City story, which I think is interesting. But take care, have a great day, and we'll see what today brings. I certainly am, and that Onana story and that Mainoo story and the ticket price rises story, they're not the big drops we're expecting. Like, so just it could be today, but I've been told there's a couple of stories that are going to break over this international break. So let's wait and see. Beth did a video saying Onana is better than Costa from Porto before we signed him. I remember saying that will be the biggest mistake we make, says Trishan. Everybody makes mistakes, mate. Look, when it comes to the goalkeeper, I was in the minority saying that getting rid of De Gea was disgusting, and the way that the media and some of our fans treated De Gea was disgusting. You had TikTok fucking hipsters who I never hear from anymore, thank God, you know, breaking it down why De Gea needed to go and why we needed a ball-playing goalkeeper. We've got a ball-playing goalkeeper who kicks it long, mostly because, well, explain that. Why is Onana gone from being a ball-playing goalkeeper to a hoofer? And in fairness to him, I think it's because, all right, De Ligt can play out from the back, but if you're gonna play out from the back, you need about 6 options. It's not just De Ligt, you need 6 players that can take the ball off the goalkeeper. So normally 4 defenders and 2 midfielders. We haven't got players that can take the ball off Onana. So he hasn't gone from being a ball-playing goalkeeper overnight to just hoofing the ball. I just think he hasn't got confidence in his defenders either, and they haven't got confidence in him, which is why you need a change. Because I think some of these players can play out from the back, but I just don't think there's any confidence between the two. He kicks the ball too long all the time, and he can play out from the back. So it's like there's just no confidence between the outfielders and him, and that's a problem, isn't it? Thanks everybody for watching, but that is a fair point. You know, it's not all on Onana. That is a fair point, but we never should have got rid of De Gea, of course. Thanks everyone for watching anyway. Speak to you all later. Take care. Have a great day. Stay safe.